Hi, have a nice lunch. Or if you're on the West Coast, a nice breakfast. You know, every time I speak, I get asked the following question. Every time. What is Obama up to? What's his motivation? Does he want to weaken the United States, or is he just incompetent? Is he stupid in his economic policies, or does he deliberately want to hurt our country and reduce us to a second-rate power? Everybody's confused about that. Nobody really is certain as to what's motivating him. Well, I have a theory, and I want to talk to you about it. It all goes back to France in 1980. Francois Mitterrand was elected president in 1980, the first socialist to take power since Leon Blum in the 1930s. And his program was to nationalize everything. He took about 10% of the French economy and moved it from the private sector to the public sector. The banking system, the insurance system, the railroads, every part of the French economy that he could move. Car companies, the whole bit. And what happened at that point was that all of French capital fled France like crazy and went to either Margaret Thatcher's Britain or Ronald Reagan's America. And while Britain and the United States recovered from the recession that was going on in that period smartly in 1982, France wallowed in it for a long time, and it went deeper in France than it did in any other country. So a few years later, the French voters voted for a right-wing prime minister who reversed all of those nationalizations. He privatized everything. The European socialists learned from that experience, and they learned that what Vladimir Lenin said at the time of the Russian Revolution was absolutely accurate. You cannot have socialism in just one country. Because if you try it, the capital will move to the other countries where there's still capitalism and freedom, and you'll lose your industry, you'll lose your economic base. That was why Lenin, after he took power, initiated the new economic policy, the NEP, that basically restored capitalism to Russia. Then Stalin solved the problem by killing everybody who didn't do what he wanted so that he was able to have socialism in one country as part of a reign of terror. But still, the basic point remained. So what the Europeans did was they took what was then the common market, essentially a free trade association, and they morphed it into the European Union. And they brought Britain into it, integrated the British economy into the European economy, and set up standardized work rules for the whole economy. Everybody had to have a certain amount of vacation. Nobody could fire workers without appeals. Everybody could limit the number of hours that people worked, and all kinds of reforms or changes that were not acceptable in a capitalist system, but were essential to a socialist system. But the problem was that capital left Europe and moved to the United States. That's why from the time Ronald Reagan took office until the time Obama took office, 80% of the newly created jobs in the Western world were created in the United States, because the United States did not have those same work rules, and people moved their production, moved their headquarters, moved their offices to the United States to get in under the more liberal and loose labor laws. So what Obama is trying to do is to bring the United States in to the European system. He's trying to bring our society and our economy into the same rules that Europe has. Why? Because he believes in them. He believes that the ethics of socialism and the protections of workers, the limitations on the amount they work, the maximization of their vacations, the limitations on upward mobility in return for egalitarianism that underscores socialism is really the way to go. And what he's really doing is eliminating the United States as the odd man out. Now, the consequence of that is no economic growth. The consequence of that is that you spread the wealth, but you also diminish it, and that nobody can really work overtime, nobody can climb up, nobody can move up the socioeconomic rung. You know, in 1990, they did a study where they took the bottom 20% of the United States economy, the poorest fifth of the American people, and they traced them over the 10 years. And they looked in 2000 at where that bottom 20% was. That was at the bottom fifth in 1990. Where were they by 2000? You know what they found? 17% of the bottom 20% were still poor, still in the bottom 20%. 18% were in the top 20%. They were the richest fifth in the United States. and the other 70% or two-thirds were in the three quintiles in between. So that upward mobility is so alive and so thriving in the United States, but not in Western Europe. There is no upward mobility. There is no changing of economic classes. You move up or down as a class. You don't move up or down as an individual. And you move up or down based on government policies, not based on hard work and individual initiative. And that is the system Barack Obama is trying to bring to the United States. Now, unless we turn him out of office in 2012, he is going to succeed. If these policies that he has that are already in place, the government spending, the Obamacare, the vast expansion of entitlements, 50 million Americans on food stamps, unless we reduce that stuff by eliminating the control, the political control of the Democratic Party in 2012, by 2016, it's going to be too late. This stuff will be in stone, and it'll be almost impossible to dislodge it. And those are the true stakes of the 2012 election. Thanks for listening.